Continue. I call the member for Port Stephens.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. The wheels on the school bus may go round and round, but it is the parents of Port Stephens whose heads have been left spinning by the poor quality school bus service delivered by Transport Minister Andrew Constance. How difficult can it be for this minister to ensure that school buses turn up, that they have enough seats for the number of students they are collecting and get them to school safely? This is not a big ask from local parents. All they want to see is a bus that picks up their children before school and drops them home safely in the afternoon. But even this simple task is beyond Minister Constance, as most tasks are. I mean, he can't even run a ferry naming pole, let alone a public transport network. I have been contacted by scores of parents from Medowie and the Tilligary Peninsula whose children have been left behind at school in the afternoon because overflowing school buses didn't have the room to take them. These students were forced to wait over an hour for a public bus to get them to their home suburb, only then to walk to into another area to get home. And that's before we get to the issue of students being forced to stand as the buses travel on roads with speed limits up to 100 kilometres an hour past the scene of previous bus accidents because this government has failed to implement the recommendations of the 2012 School Bus Safety Community Advisory Committee inquiry into rural and regional school bus safety. Put simply, it's not good enough. Adding to the frustration for parents is that their experiences this year are not new. This has become an annual event in Medowie and on the Tilligary Peninsula. After discussions with parents, teachers and the Minister's office, the cause has become clear. A school's enrolment is calculated in February each year as part of a statewide census. The number of school buses needed for the area is then calculated on this enrolment information. As students return to school in January, the number of school buses is still being calculated on last year's enrolment numbers. In a growing area like Medowie, and with growing enrolments at Irrawang High School and Hunter River High School in Raymond Terrace, it is clear that this method is leaving more students to cram onto the same number of buses over every year, time and time again, or they get left behind. I understand schools tried to advise bus companies that student numbers were increasing, but the bus company's contract with the Transport Minister means they are only paid for the official number of students. No private company is going to spend more to add a bus if they aren't being paid for it. There are around 1,000 students being bussed out of Medowie and the surrounding area each day to secondary schools across the region. This enormous logistical exercise is only forced on local students because this government has failed to support the community's long-standing call for a public high school in Medowie. Many families will be relieved when the next Labor government fixes this after the next election. The enormous number of students bussed out of Medowie and the Tilligary Peninsula each day is concerning, but it is the individual stories which reveal the truth behind these experiences. One mother, Karina, called my office to share her daughter's story. On her daughter's second day at high school, she was told that there wasn't enough room on the school bus to take her home in the afternoon. She was told to catch a public bus and make her own way home. Karina's daughter had never caught that public bus before, and you can only imagine the distress of a Year 7 student on the first week of school being told to catch a different bus on a different route home. Another Medowie parent, Suzanne, called my office with her concern about this situation. Her two girls were some of the lucky ones who'd managed to get a place on the bus while others were left behind. But this is of no comfort to parents who have no confidence that tomorrow it won't be their children left stranded and told to make their own way home. We had the absurd situation in the first week of school where 30 children at one of the high schools couldn't get on the bus at the end of the school day. Another parent, Stephen, contacted my office about the experience of his boys who started in Year 7 this year. These boys travel from the Tilligary Peninsula to Raymond Terrace. It's a trip about half an hour in the car and a lot longer on a bus. But Stephen's boys spend the entire trip standing as the bus travels roads with speed limits up to 90 kilometres an hour. In fact, late last year, the RMS reduced the speed limit along this road because of the high number of crashes. This road was so dangerous that RMS had to lower the speed limit, but this government has no problem with children standing on buses as they go along the same road. Now, I'll offer a simple solution to these problems. Build a public high school in Medowie, which this government said they were going to start planning in 2011 and have done nothing since. But if you won't do that, surely you can at least make sure our kids get to and from school safely.
Thank you.